Hello everyone, it's Cassie and welcome back for another Miss Ink Stamps video. Today I'm going to be sharing some tips on how you can make a one-layered background but using many layers. It'll make more sense as we go. But let's talk about what we're using. This is the Bear Hugs stamp set. It's so stinking cute. And we're going to pair it up with our Treeline stencil. I have some 140-pound watercolor paper and we're going to pull out my makeshift splatter box, and I have a bunch of distress ink sprays that we're going to be using. We're going to start with some milled lavender. So I've brought that stencil all the way up to the top, and then I'm going to dry, I thought about sticking it down, but I'm going to dry my background before I stick my stencil right back down on top of that. I'm not cleaning my stencil in between, it really doesn't matter, but I am going to be using heat in between because I do want those layers to dry. The next color I'm going to be using is Dusty Concord. Now my tip here is when you want to do a layered background, but you really only want it to be one layer, the best bet is to start with light colors at the top and work your way down to some darker colors. So our next darkest color is going to be Villainous Potion. And you'll see it is much darker than the other two colors, and we've got this ombre of color going. Yeah, I did get some overspray at the top, but that's not going to be as big of a concern because this stencil is so cool. It is also a mask. I love this. So I have put that down on top of those top trees, and I'm spraying some chipped sapphire at the top, and look, it just covers that all up completely. So now we have this night sky. I'm going to put the mask back on there, and I'm going to bring in my Gansai Tambi Starry Sky colors, and I'm just going to put a little bit of water in there and then splatter that all over the top so that we get some stars. And you can't really see it right here, but I'll show you afterwards once this background is all done. I'm going to bring in a strip of paper, and then I'm going to spray the very bottom color, which is Walnut Stain, and I'm just keeping it fairly close so I don't get a bunch of overspray at the top. Pull that away, and there's our background. I'm going to heat set that, but take a look at this. It's one full layer, but we used many layers of color. Isn't that cool? I love that, and that stencil is awesome. All right, so now we need to get into our stamping. So I've pulled out a bunch of the images from the Bear Hugs stamp set. I'm inking that up with some blackout ink, and I'm going to stamp that down onto some Express It cardstock because I do want to do some alcohol marker coloring. And those are a good combination. I'll put the colors up on the screen for you. My first color is E25, and that's just going to be a lighter color. I'm going to put that wash down on all of our little bears. All of them are going to be the same color. We've got a mama holding a baby, and then we have a couple of other smaller bears. Those are going to be her babies as well, because this is going to be a card for a mom. So yeah, like I said, we'll just color each of our little bears with that one wash of color. And then I'm going to come in with just one darker color. And that's typically how I color, which is darkest to lightest. And I know that there are many ways to do it. Just do what makes you comfortable. Whatever gives you your best results. Our darker color that we're using is the E59. And it's funny, as far as putting down where I want that color to go, where I want the darker shades to go, I really have no rhyme or reason to where I put it. You might want to think about where your light would be shining, I suppose, but I'm just kind of picking one side and going with it. But what I notice when I put down that darker color is it always looks like a hot mess to me, especially if it's significantly darker. It isn't until I bring back in the lighter color and do a little bit of blending that it starts to actually look good to me. So I'm just bringing in that lighter color, softening those edges, bringing that lighter color in a little bit more in some areas. But I want this to be a little bit, not splotchy, that's not the word I'm looking for. I do want there to just be a little bit more of a variation in the color so that you can absolutely tell that it isn't completely blended out. So we'll do the same thing with our other little bears and then blend those out a little bit. But this is going to be a night scene, so they're sleeping at night, and I wanted it to be kind of, not harsh, I suppose, would be the word I'm using, or I'm thinking of. All right, for their muzzles, we're using E33, and I'm also going to use that for the wood that our one little bear is laying on. And then I'll bring in one more darker color, and it's going to be significantly darker. And I'll use that on mom's muzzle, a little bit on the baby's muzzles, and I'm not going to blend out on the muzzles, but I am going to blend out on the tree just a little bit. Next, we'll bring in some Y21 for our moon, and then one more darker color for that moon, which is the Y1 or Y08. and then blend that a little. And then for our stone, because our background is purple, I decided to use some blue violets. You could obviously just go in with some gray or, something of that nature, but I thought this blue violet in the 2-0 and 2-3 was a nice, it gave the stone color a little bit of that purple hue, which ties it all together, and I love doing that. Then I'll bring in some RV11 for their ears, and then a black or a W8 for their noses. And now we get to Fussy Cut. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of a white border around all of my images. This doesn't take a whole lot of time. And then I'm going to set that on my background and stamp out the sentiments that I choose to use. So we've got You Make Life Bearable, and then I'm bringing in Mama Bear. This stamp has some good choices for that. It has Papa Bear as well. And then I'm going to bring in my guillotine trimmer to cut those down so that those sentiments will be ready to go on the front of our card. So now I'm going to go ahead and start gluing everything down. And so we'll put our moon up there on that upper left hand side, and then we'll glue down Mama Bear in the middle, and then her two babies around her. You could use foam tape to pop this up if you wanted to, just to add a little bit of depth to it. But I figure our background gives it lots of depth. And then we'll glue down our sentiments. I'm going to line that up using my glass mat. And then I do want Mama Bear to be a little bit, I don't want it to be straight, so I'm just kind of making that a little bit cockeyed. Our base measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and is being scored at 4 1/4, so this will be a top folding A2 size card. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue down my panel to my base. I do want to do something on the inside, and I probably should have stamped first, but hindsight. I don't always think about it ahead of time. We're going to stamp another sentiment in there. This one says, "Very thankful for you." And then I'm going to bring in one of the baby bears, and we're going to stamp him using some walnut stain Distress Oxide. These are great for stamping. You could use your regular Distress inks, but those aren't formulated for stamping. Then I've got some fossilized amber for stars and our campfire. And that's going to finish off our card for today. So I really hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you learned a little something and it inspires you to go get inky. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Miss Ink Stamps has going on over on their Facebook page, their blog, and Instagram. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day.